welcome to another session of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. As always, I am your host and game master, Brian Kershaw.
Woo!
Excellent, thank you, Phoenix. Thank you, Aaron. Silence from Bill.
The jury's
Noted
still out.
in my notes.
Nuts.
The GM will remember this.
Now, as I was saying, yep, it's too late, Bill. It's too late. My heart is lost to you. My pronouns are he, him, and I will be running all of our various NPCs, antagonists, and supernatural creatures. But what I will not be running is our brave investigators who will be starring in our show. So, since I have just thrown you under the bus, Bill, would you tell us about who you are and who you're playing?
All right. Well, my name is Bill Hruska. I was playing Dr. Lucius Jensen, but I have a feeling he's going to take a turn for the worse here soon enough. Yeah.
Oh, and what are your and Dr. Jensen's pronouns?
Oh, my apologies. He, him.
Perfect. All right, and Phoenix.
Yes, that is I. I am Phoenix. I am playing the part of one Julian Benavides. We both go with he, him pronouns. He is our dashing debonair and other various adjectives socialite of the group. Yeah.
And Aaron.
I am Erin, and I play Sofie, the academic. I remembered her class this time. Go me. And we both go by she, her.
Fantastic. All right, so we have successfully survived your encounter with the Vatir, who have transformed you back to your regular size. You are now in a somewhat unlikely alliance with King Toon and the community of Vatir living in the infirmary. Now, I think, if I remember right last session, I promised to tell you what the actual effects of that alliance were, right?
Oh my God, tell us already.
Did I say that?
I have been living in suspense for 2 weeks, or I would be if I didn't have ADHD and it ceased to exist for the interim. But now I'm
pretty
really
sure you were
suspenseful again.
telling us something about that we all get to increase attributes by something like 10, I think is what it was.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It sounds like the kind of thing that
concur.
Julian would make up. So, whenever you are going to be purchasing a discovery upgrade in the headquarters, you will now get a discount on it, as the Vatir are able to help you discover these hidden corners and secret places.
Nice.
So, you reduce that cost by 1 for each discovery you purchase in the future.
That's awesome.
However, there is a little bit of a cost to this.
Oh, no.
Well, I have a hunch it'll be fine. The Vatir are also expecting to be rewarded, given that some of you made some pretty hefty promises. So, at the start of each mystery, each of you will need to spend 1 capital on gifts, food, and wine to help provide for the Vatir colony.
Sofie and Julian are just like making it rain. Dr. Jensen's like, I have $7. Do you need one?
If Kaylin were here, this would be a problem. But between the 3 people with a pocketbook, I think you're fine.
Kaylin would just steal a silver dollar from somebody, and then we would be covered for like 3 sessions.
Look, I get you are well off and or what is it now? Like rich?
Spoilers.
I think we're both well off. Oh, sorry.
You've always been well
We'll
off.
get to that.
Sophie's well off.
Sophie's well off.
We'll find out what Julian is later on.
But yeah, I'm not broke over here. I can afford it.
Fantastic.
Now,
sorry,
something
I
important.
do have a question on that. So is that just straight up every time it's -1 capital? Julian does start, as part of his equipment, he does get fine wines every time. And that's kind of what I was telling him we would give him.
If you wanted to lose that fine wine at the start of every mystery, you could hang on to the 1 capital instead.
Okay.
Could we use it as a option, I guess, for a mystery. If like say, hey, this mystery I don't mind if I give up my bottle of nice liquor,
I would
and then I'll keep
be
the
fine with
capital.
that. Yep.
Okay.
That said, and I do want to stress this, if you do not meet your obligations, there will be consequences. We'll cover what those are if it happens.
I'll make a manipulation test. It's fine, guys. Don't worry.
We have Yurt to keep us safe.
I don't think Yurt is going to help you. Yort's
Sorry.
might,
Yurt,
but he's unreliable. All right, so we will get to a scene with the Vatir a little bit later on, but this is going to be a slightly different interlude for us. And I've got a little bit of opening narration for you. Like all seasons, summers in Seattle must inevitably come to an end. September is an unpredictable month in this area of the Pacific Northwest. Some years, the clouds will begin to thicken and gather by the first week, while other years, we won't begin to get a drizzle of rain until late October. The residents of Seattle and Ballard take every chance they can to catch those last rays of sunshine, knowing it might be several months before they see them again. With such unpredictable weather, it can often be uncertain what the day will bring. While it may have been cloudy and drizzling yesterday, today could be sunny and warm. We find ourselves in just such a situation. Previous day, the entire sky from the Olympic Mountains to the Cascades was covered in a thick sea of gray clouds. Yet today, it's sunny and warm. We slowly pan down from that bright blue sky, past the flapping wings of chirping birds, gathering bits of hay or twigs to keep their nests dry in the coming months. We look down at a handsome man, happily strolling down Ballard's Broadway, past its bars and churches, and into the more residential areas. He's finely dressed, as always, with his violin case tucked under one arm, and a beautiful red rose that somehow never seems to fade, pinned to his lapel. Today is a good day. Today there are no monsters to face, no villains to thwart, and nothing to flee for his life from. And on one of the last sunny and warm days of the year, Julian strolls down an avenue, heading for Sofie's house, ready for a trip over into Seattle today. Phoenix, what is Julian whistling as he walks down the lane?
It's a catchy tune of his own composition that definitely has a name.
Excellent. Or is it something that he's just kind of workshopping at the moment?
He's always tinkering a little bit. He's got it fleshed out for the most part, but there's always room to improve.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. You arrive at Sofie's place, and it's looking a little nicer than it has before. Sofie's been making a lot of effort to clean this place up, to expand on it. She's been building things. She's been hiring some local craftsmen to make additions. In the distance, you actually spot a little bit of pasture land behind her place. You think you actually spot a couple of goats and maybe some sheep and a cow back that way.
Spying all of the critters in the backyard, I think I might pass the front door, leap the fence, and just go see if I can pet some goats.
That is not where I expected you to go, but excellent. The critters come enthusiastically up to Julian. One of the goats kind of looks at you with its strange hourglass eyes. Phoenix, can you make an empathy test for me?
Empathy.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Oh, that's the goat she got from Mira.
So it's just basic empathy?
Yep, just straight empathy.
Okay. 1 success on 5 dice.
The goat kind of nuzzles your hand, and it's just kind of sidling up to you. But you're able to persuade it to stop when it starts trying to nibble on your jacket.
Yeah. Look, I understand. It's probably the sweetest thing you've had all day. Well, I mean, I get that a lot anyway. Never mind. I give it some scritches behind the ear and turn my attention back to the house. I guess maybe if there's a back door from here, perhaps I'm going to the back entrance today.
I will say it's worth noting that there are probably pretty girls at my house. At least a couple, like tending the sheep and possibly doing some light carpentry around the outside of the house or something.
I mean, if that's the case, then I might have needed a higher empathy test to defend myself.
Thankfully, you hadn't noticed them yet. Julian, you are able to let yourself in, and you step into Sofie's study. Aaron, tell us about this room.
Sofie's study is, all of her books are very well organized, but her desk is a disaster area. She's got papers strewn everywhere, and you see some stuff that doesn't really make any sense, and there's letters, letters from all kinds of different people, and a couple of different notebooks, like 2 or 3 different notebooks, and just like sketches of things she's trying to do around the house, and bills from the, craftsmen where she's hired them to do stuff, and all kinds of different stuff like that. But it's a very cozy room.
Taking a look at the desk before I call out to Sofie, which I will do in just one moment.
Actually, is Sofie working in her study right now?
Pardon?
Does she know that Julian's coming?
Yes, but not exactly when. The two of you are going to be visiting Seattle today.
I mean, she might not be in there at the moment. She might have told him to, just wait for her there. But she's probably, she might be getting ready or something to go with him to town.
Perfect.
You got a lot of pockets to prepare.
That's true.
Yes,
that's true.
There are many pockets. Correct.
And what were you going to say, Phoenix?
Yeah. So if you are not there, before I call out and announce myself, I will just walk over to the desk, which is, I'm sure it is organized chaos. To me, it just looks like chaos. Whatever is on top is now on the bottom of the stack.
Fantastic. We will get to that momentarily. Julian is alone in Sofie's study and picks up her most recent set of notes. However, we're going to briefly pause before saying what those look like before he gets to put them on the bottom of her stack. We slowly drift away from Julian up to Mischief and follow after Sofie. Where in the house is she at the moment?
She's probably in her bedroom, changing, I think. She would have been wearing really, serviceable stuff this morning to do things around the house, and so she's trying to make herself presentable to go somewhere with Julian.
Well, yesterday was also a very cold, very chilly, very cloudy day, so she might have been preparing for something like that. But today is much warmer, much nicer, so she might need some different outfits for the day as well. And as Sofie is changing and getting her outfits together, she can't help but pause for a moment and look in the mirror. Her shoulder, right in kind of the center, right above the shoulder blade, there is a terrible scar. It's an old injury. That's healed up. The skin is still a little bit of a different pink shade than the rest of it, and it's certainly a different shade than everything around it. Slowly arcing out across her shoulder, down her arm to almost her elbow now, and down her back almost to her ribs, are an elaborate set of runes. Despite her best efforts, she has been unable to locate any information about what these runes mean. Despite working with some of the best scholars on runes, all the way from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, no one has been able to explain anything to her. And worse, they're further than they were before. Before that encounter with the Vatir, they were only going down her arm. After the encounter with the Vatir being shrunken down, they now go halfway down her back. Sofie again puts on layer after layer of clothing, making sure she's wearing long, full sleeves, a heavy cover-up. No one at the library, other than Matthias, has been told about these runes, so they remain a secret to everyone, and Sofie has kept it that way, despite a few close calls. Now, out of curiosity, has Mira Asketil seen any of these runes?
I think Sofie is on the point of asking her, but she hasn't quite made up her mind to do it yet.
Had that conversation yet?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I guess we'll see which way she goes. Sofie heads back out. Phoenix, in hand, Julian has picked up something interesting. I'm going to put this into our Roll20 system, and on the screen, you should see some notes. Could you be so kind as to read those for us?
Sure. I see a bullet-pointed list, and
it's Sophie's handwriting. You recognize that.
I see a bullet-pointed list in Sophie's handwriting. First bullet point, confession in church turns sinful. Next is Yukon wives. Surely they get up to things when their husbands are out in the wilderness. Next, someone of the Lummi tribe told me of a large hairy creature that stalks the woods. Possible Vasen? Probably best not to bring them into this. Or is it? Next, something about a Fae circle. Once again, have to be careful not to anger any actual Fae. Next bullet, Selkie is a cursed princess? I work for the library too much. Too many Vasen-related ideas. Nuns in a convent? Finally, something steamy on a steamboat. Then again, that last steamboat ride I took was anything but.
And you notice underneath this list is a small, simple folio that looks to be mass-printed, entitled The Iceman Cometh by Zephyrine Flambeau. Does Julian investigate any of the other books on Sophie's desk?
I don't think he's not. No. Short answer is no. He is
Okay.
not. So as I pick up this first
kind of
note
notepad,
of all of these things here, I'm planning on just picking it up and just kind of shuffling it around to just mess with Sophie's organization system. I mean, Agda would never let me hear the end of it, but Sofie and I, she'll get over it pretty quick. But then it kind of catches my eye a little bit, especially the part about Yukon wives, and I just have to read it. But I'm not going to go any further than that as far as investigating what's on her desk. After reading the note, kind of cock my head a little bit, raise a very well groomed eyebrow, and just shrug and stick it underneath everything else.
Okay. You can't help but notice there are a bunch of other small folios similar to The Iceman Cometh, and they all are written by Zephyrine Flambeau. Possibly an interesting fact to file away for later. Sofie heads downstairs, and you hear some people who are working. You spot a couple of folks who are milling about, doing some various carpentry, some house cleaning. Some of the ladies here wave to you.
I wave back coyly. It's very coy.
And Aaron, you can hear a couple of people saying hi to someone, and it sounds like they're in your study.
Yeah, I will head that way, and I assume occasionally, or there are a couple of the girls who tend to be like a buzz when Julian comes by, so I kind of am like, I wonder if Julian's arrived, because I hear them whispering, and not all of them, but just the younger ones.
You hear some giggling too.
You also hear Julian with just What do you think you're... That is not... I am scandalized?
The giggling intensifies.
Okay. This is...
Is Sophie gonna have to go put a stop to this?
It's possible. Yeah.
Just get a bucket of water.
A fire hose. No, she'll definitely go in there and see what's going on. She doesn't, I mean, she knows that Julian wouldn't, like, do anything actually untoward, so she's not really worried.
You walk into the study and see a young lady leaning suggestively into the open window, who is flirting ceaselessly with Julian. 'Cause of course she is.
Lizzie, aren't you supposed to be shearing the sheep this morning?
Yes I am. See you later, Julian. Bye. And she quickly hurries away.
Looking forward to testing out the wool later.
Julian, don't encourage her. She's just gotten out of the business.
Sofie, you know I would never, but it's all consensual. Everything's fine.
I know. Nothing is your fault, Julian. It's just that face.
Well, that goes without saying. So, to Seattle today. It's a lovely day out. Figured this would be one of our final opportunities for the season.
So it would seem. Onward.
The two of you head out to the Ballard docks to pick up a steamship and travel as part of the Mosquito fleet over to Seattle. We watch the ship kind of slowly drifting away from the docks. However, our focus stays here in Ballard for now and heads to the respectable medical clinic of Dr. Lucius Jensen. While some people are spending this day frolicking and enjoying the sun, Dr. Jensen has work to do. He is a very serious-minded man. And, frankly, this is a day when he can see quite a few patients.
It's true.
While the steamship kind of travels off, and we eventually are going to get back to Seattle, Dr. Jensen has been seeing patients throughout the day, and the hours have kind of ticked away. Even Dr. Jensen has to admit, it's not a day to be inside for too long, and he might like to get a little bit of sun before it wraps up.
Yeah, I suppose.
Just a tiny bit. Not shirking like everybody else, but he's just had his nurse see out his last patient and is just finishing up his records when there's a light rap on the door.
If I thought I was done with the day, Who is it?
Pardon me, Dr. Jensen, I was hoping I could speak to you. You recognize the voice of Matthias.
Oh, I'll go over and open the door. Well, Matthias, of course. My apologies. I thought you were another patient. Come in.
Thank you. I was actually hoping you might be able to see me today.
Oh.
I realize I did not make an appointment, but...
I'm sure we can squeeze you in. What seems to be the problem?
Well, I've been noticing a bit of stiffness lately and some tension in my chest. I was hoping you might be able to take a closer look at it.
Sure. I will take the I believe the stethoscope has been invented by this point.
Let's say yes, because you've had them before.
Okay. Then yes, I'll take out my stethoscope and put it to his chest to hear how his heart is beating.
You're able to hear it beating, but there is a slight irregularity to the rhythm. Its pace is not quite the steady bump, bump, bump that you would expect.
Huh. Yes. Well, it seems that there's a little bit of a arrhythmic pattern to this. Has anything happened recently to you? Something might have caused any undue stress upon yourself?
Not that I can think of. I will admit there has been a great deal of stress, but I am also an old man and have lived a full life.
I guess I will proceed to kind of just check over the rest of his body just to see if there's any other issues or anything else that might stand out to me.
You give him a full workup. Nothing else jumps out quite so significantly other than that arrhythmia. And that's certainly something you think you'd want to keep an eye on.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it can't seem to see if there's any other issue with you. Have you noticed any other symptoms, I guess? Shortness of breath, dizziness, sweating, or feeling of cold or heat?
Certainly some cold, certainly some heat, but I think that is more the weather we have been having lately.
Yes.
It's funny, Dr. Jensen. Most of what you're describing are things that I've been hearing from the other agents of the library. Many of our investigators have been suffering, trying to deal with the Varson. It takes a toll on people.
It certainly does. I find myself often just in disbelief of just what I've experienced in this short time here.
That is why I was thinking about bringing in an alienist. Many of our people have been suffering mental breakdowns. I think someone who can provide some of this new psychoanalysis may be helpful for them.
Psychoanalysis? No. Those are just charlatans. They're quacks trying to pass themselves as doctors.
Well, I have heard very good things about this gentleman. He's in town for the moment. A gentleman named Gaston Le Bon. A Frenchman, actually, who's at the Our House Hotel.
A Frenchman on top of it. My word. Where is he staying, you said?
A hotel called Our House, down in Seattle.
I'm quite aware. I think it's one of Julian's new favorite sojourns during the evenings.
Well, Julian has many favorite sojourns, that is certainly for sure.
Mateus, I'll be honest with you. I have considerable reservations about this, but if you...
Yeah, perhaps you should speak to him.
Well, I was going to say I've come to learn that there are plenty of things here that I might not fully understand, and if Julian and Sofie have taught me anything, that there is a certain amount of trust that I should be extending to you and the other fun folks at the library. If you think this might be good for the overall health of our group, then sure, I'll go meet with him.
I tell you what, Dr. Jensen, I trust your opinions. Why don't you talk to this Gaston? If you think he is on the level, we might consider retaining his services at some point. If you think after talking to him he's probably a charlatan, I will not waste our time.
Don't get your hopes up. I've met quite a few of these, they call psychologists. No, it's ridiculous. Anyway, sorry. I will go meet with him and see how he shapes up.
He kind of pats you lightly on the shoulder. Thank you for looking into this. I don't want to do something that would not help the people of the library.
Of course.
But I trust your judgment as a doctor and a man of science.
Well, thank you. I'll let you know what I find out.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Jensen. All right, we cut back to Sofie and Julian. The pair of you are kind of chatting and traveling, walking through the streets of the city on this beautiful day.
Few people have probably come up to me asking for a bit of my time and perhaps an autograph, and I am more than willing to oblige.
You're so giving to your fans.
It's true. Not only am I incredibly handsome, I'm also very kind and generous.
That's what I say about you all the time.
As well you should.
The perfect man.
Now, tell me, has anything changed with Julian Stats-wise, since our last meeting.
I mean, he's got a nice new silk top hat that is perhaps tipped over at a rakish angle up
Like
on his
Julian
head.
can do something that's not at a rakish angle.
You know. And there is a very nice pocket watch tucked into a silk vest. In terms of statistics, yeah, he's been doing all right for himself lately. His resources have gone up by 2.
Dang.
And he finds himself quite well off.
All right, so Julian's making some money. Now, what changes has Sofie made from leveling up?
She got smarter.
So got a +1 to learning.
+1 to learning.
Doing some research, looking into some things.
Although it's been maybe a different kind of research lately. The stuff she's been working on.
Does Julian ask about any of that interesting research he saw on her desk? Or would that be gauche?
I feel like I wouldn't, but I feel like you're pointing me in that direction.
Nope. Either way, up to you.
I try to play it cool, but then as we're walking past, and I have just signed, I don't know, probably a half dozen autographs lately, I just kind of put my pen away with a flourish. So, Yukon Wives. Tell me about that.
Did you see my notebook, Julian? I was trying to grab it before I left and I didn't find it anywhere.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure I saw it somewhere.
Yes. I've been having inspiration hit me at the strangest times lately, so I've been trying to bring it with me, but I don't have it at the moment. But of course, there's another notebook in here somewhere, I'm sure, and she pats her skirt.
There's probably like 7 notebooks in 7 different notebook pockets.
What did you think? Did you have any feedback? Oh, I should have asked you. How have I not asked you, Julian? You're the expert.
Yes, I am. On many things. Including... I'm sorry, what is it you're asking me?
Well, I have found a nice little side gig, you might say, to fund the schooling of the girls and the refurbishment of the house. I've been writing little novels. Really, they're just novellas. They're quite short, but they've been selling like hotcakes, which is, I didn't think that they would be so well received, but apparently there's a wide readership, even though they're kept under wraps, if you will, by those that read them.
I see. Why are they kept under wraps?
Because it's about sex, Julian.
Julian feigns a swoon. Oh my goodness. How scandalous.
I know, you're so innocent, Julian. I should never have brought it up to you.
Well, first of all, no, I'm not that innocent. And also, I'm pretty sure I'm the one who brought it up. So, it's fine.
That's true. That's true.
Fine.
Well, we'll have to sit down and brainstorm. Maybe I can, I don't put my actual name on them, so I wouldn't want to call you out, but...
Oh, yeah, no problem. I mean, we can sit down. I'm sure we can find a nice cafe here. We could perhaps have some bananas Foster, perhaps a cherries Jubilee. One of those, what are they called? Flambeaux.
Oh, you're so sneaky, Julian. You definitely saw them. Now I know you did. I should have known that you would pick that out of all the things in my office. The naughty novels.
Well, now I'm wishing that I would have read closer.
Oh, well.
I simply saw them there. I would never disturb your possessions. You know that.
Sofie just smirks at him.
I wasn't going to call for a roll on that one.
I bat my eyes.
You need 0.1 insight to know.
There is clutching of imaginary pearls at this accusation.
Well, you're certainly welcome to have a read at some point if you like. I mean, I wouldn't say that to just anyone, but as I said, you have quite a bit of experience in that arena, so.
Well, yes, but it's not polite to kiss and tell. But yes. Well, I know what I'm doing when we're done for the day. we'll be sure to stop by your abode.
Delightful.
Hello, dear listener. It's your game master, Brian. It sounds like everyone is just taking their time during this episode, with our different characters spending their days at their own relaxed pace. If they needed a quiet spot to reflect on some recent events, they could always take a walk through Lakeview Cemetery. It's a beautiful and serene place, and these days, home to quite a few famous grave sites. There's something magical and spooky about all the buried stories in a graveyard. And if you're interested in knowing about a few other famous cemeteries, I've got a podcast for you to check out. The Grim is a podcast exploring the ghostly history of cemeteries around the world, with bite-sized episodes and coffee pairings suggested for each spooky encounter. Here's the host Kristen with a quick trailer.
Good morning and welcome to The Grim. Join me, your host Kristen, each week as I open the gate to historic and haunted graveyards, digging into the past and awakening the spirits of those who once walked among us. So grab your favorite mug, cozy up, and prepare to be captivated by The Grim, where tales take you beyond the grave and into the veil of history, haunting anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Now, sadly, the pair of you have reached the point where you are parting ways for the afternoon, as Julian was going to be heading down to the docks, and Sofie was going to be heading into the lava beds, the most scandalous and dangerous part of town. Although, frankly, she's got little concern.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Short list.
Oh, if I could grant you inspiration.
Now, Julian has something very important that he's doing this afternoon. He is seeing someone off. The family of the Dobsons has finally gotten their affairs in order, and they are going to be departing for San Francisco to start a brand new life. However, they had wanted to be able to say goodbye to Julian before going.
Yeah, once I split off from Sofie, I do want to make sure as I do start making my way down to see them, I'd like to stop by if I can find any sort of like a toy shop.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm sorry, remind me how many children there were?
3 children and an infant.
3 children and an infant. Okay. Yeah, so I would like to... So 2 stops, I guess it would be. First of all, certainly the toy shop. See what I can find as far as something that would be age appropriate and entertaining for the children.
Mm-hmm.
And I also would like to stop in a hattery and see if I can find her a lovely hat.
Absolutely. You arrive down at the docks with a bag filled with dolls and tin soldiers and little cannons that you could flick cannonballs out of, and a rattle for the little infant, and an elaborate hat box covered in ribbons.
I didn't even need to roll for that. Thanks, DM.
Nah, you got it. This is an interlude. You just get stuff. Margaret looks at you. Julian!
I flash her a big smile and run towards her at a respectable pace.
Mm-hmm. She is delighted to see you one final time before they head for San Francisco. She gives Julian a giant embrace. She's looking so much better than she was before. She looks like she's actually gotten sleep. The deep bags that were under her eyes are gone. Her hair is in a nice updo.
Yeah, upon seeing her, definitely return the embrace, give her a kiss on each cheek, kind of brush aside any hairs that might be out of place. You look amazing, Margaret. I'm so glad this is happening for you.
Oh, Julian, I owe you so much. I can't believe that you were able to make that happen.
Yeah. It's funny what you can do when you're inspired. And he looks to her as he says that, but also kind of steals a glance down towards his lapel.
I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for me and my family. Julian, if I can ask, do you think we'll ever see Cotton again?
I have to think about that. I take her hand as she asks, and I kind of glance over towards the kids, make sure that they are occupied with their toys, and I lean in close and just say to her, that man is in the past. Your future is bright, and it is. And again, I just look her straight in the eye as I say this. Your future is bright, and frankly, better without him.
She kind of squares up her shoulders a little bit, and then gives Julian one more tight embrace, kisses him once on both cheeks. If you are ever in San Francisco, or if you ever need anything, you let us know.
I smile, give her another hug, and look down at the kids, pick up the smallest one who's not an infant, just kind of grab them up into my arms and give them a hug, kind of look them in the eye. Well, of course I will. I mean, I have to make sure that insert name here that I definitely know. We have to make sure that she has the future that looks so promising at this time. You're going to be a diva, aren't you?
And the little girl just beams up at you. I don't know what that means.
And I just boop her nose and give her a squeeze and hand her over to Margaret.
And Margaret just laughs and smiles.
And I hope if I do see you again, it will be there. And yeah, it's a good time to move on.
You hear the loud whistle of the steamship letting passengers know they need to board. Margaret takes a minute to kind of scoop all the kids up, get their possessions together, grab bags.
Come on, kids, we don't want to be late.
Do you give them toys and a hat box?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I've definitely handed those out.
They are all over the moon and playing with them.
I will also help Margaret adjust the hat properly.
Excellent. Getting it kind of nicely pinned at a slightly rakish angle.
At a slightly rakish angle, you read my mind. Only slightly.
Mm-hmm.
She's a respectable woman.
A mostly respectable angle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with one final wave, she and the kids board the steamship that is going to be bound for San Francisco.
I continue to wave until there's quite a bit of distance. Not quite, beyond the horizon by any means,
but until it's like out into the sound.
Well away, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Julian just spends a few quiet moments standing on the dock, thinking and reflecting back. And he can't help himself but drift into a memory, thinking back to his very first night at Madame Lou's. What was Julian wearing the very first time he came to the sporting house?
So, his first day there, he looks actually very similar to how he looks right now, except everything is just trying so hard. His hair is beautifully groomed, but there is just so much product in it that it is just plastered to his skull. He is trying to wear a, beautiful suit and silks, and they are all just a little bit too tight. The patterns are just a little too garish. He's trying to play his part and just hasn't quite figured out what that entails just yet.
Mm-hmm. And how does he feel inside of this place? It is opulent, it is extravagant, there are alluring paintings, there are beautiful people.
It's a mixture of anxiety that he doesn't want to screw up on his first day. There's a lot of pride, and he's thinking about being able to really contribute back to his father, who has been working as hard as he has within the lumber yards, trying to make sure that Julian didn't need to work as hard as he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's really got a very palpable sense of pride of being able to hopefully make things better for his father. And then the other part of it is just a bit of awe and wonder at the level of opulence of the establishment, which is just not something he
has had any experience with.
with.
Can I get a vigilance test from you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not good at those. Okay, that is 4 dice.
I deign to let this succeed.
The 3 1s and a 5 say otherwise. No, that is 0 successes on 4 dice.
Well, in that case, Julian is kind of looking around the place. He's taking in all of the sights, and he doesn't realize as he bumps into someone and accidentally spills her drink.
Oh God! I'm so sorry. He is frantically looking around for a napkin, a towel. He hasn't even made eye contact yet. He is just frantic at the moment.
This girl has very, very large blonde hair. She is in a low-cut scoop neck dress and has, let us say, amply filled said dress. Oh, will this peacock never stop watching where he's going? Oh my god, my dress is gonna be ruined tonight.
I'm so sorry. And I find like a dish rag and then move to start dabbing and hesitate, not really sure what to do.
And as you do, a hand lightly scoops the dish rag out of your fingers and just plops it in between her bosom. Don't worry about her, hon. She is not going to be here for very long. And a young lady puts her arm around Julian's shoulders, her red hair spilling over the back of her low-cut dress. I'm Rose. Come on, let me get you a drink. Is it your first night?
He's looking back and forth between Rose and the blonde and is just still trying to kind of gather himself. Yes. First, Madame Lou's not going to throw me out on my first night, is she?
Absolutely not. Let's get you settled. Nothing settles the nerve like a drink.
Okay. Yeah. So, like, water?
Oh, I am gonna have the most fun corrupting you. Slowly fade back as Julian's looking out over the sea, just kind of remembering. Now, Julian and Sofie were not the only ones traveling to Seattle today. Bill, after putting in a good day's work, Dr. Jensen has something that needs to get taken care of.
Well, what he really needs to get taken care of is to find a nice armchair and a glass of bourbon, but he promised Matthias he'd go...
Matthias,
sorry. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
So bad.
It's all part of your charm, Bill.
I know I'm going to mess it up later in the... Anyway. Lucius has a promise to keep, and he's going to stick to his word, even if he's not looking forward to this new meeting.
Mm-hmm. Now, what has Dr. Jensen picked up for his level ups?
So, having gone through the whole ordeal of building the infirmary, but then dealing with the Vatir, and now trying to come into his own in the infirmary, Dr. Jensen has spent 10 XP to level up his medicine twice from 3 to 5.
Excellent. Dear listener, for those not familiar with Vasan, Dr. Jensen has now maxed out his medicine skill. He is as good a doctor as you can be.
He is a whole ass doctor.
This is as good as
well, actually, he's not a proctologist, so he's not a whole ass doctor. He's more of a generalist.
A general ass doctor.
Listener, Erin is just shaking her head in disappointment at me now. Just fucking over it.
You started off so well, Brian.
But yes, I will travel to where this. I've already lost the name.
Gaston Le Bon.
I was going to go with Gustav, so I'm glad I stopped myself. Oh, now I get to decide if Dr. Jensen is actually going to be able to speak French or not. Okay. So yeah, he will travel to our house and
in the middle of our street.
I am trying very hard not to.
You're welcome.
You're weakening my resolve, Brian.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm so proud of everything that is happening right now.
But yes, so Lucius will travel to our house, and he'll first look to see if he can find Big Bill, find a familiar face to help him see if he can find this Gustav Gaston blah, 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 blah.
Big Bill is behind the kitchen counter, as usual, cooking up some steaks.
Oh, those steaks sound amazing. Do I still go meet the psychologist, or do I order steak?
He turns as he hears you come in. Oh, now I recognize that bearded face. Hey, Dr. Jensen, how you doing?
Well, I guess I was going to say Mr., but that seems odd with Big Bill.
It is a little weird to call me Mr. Big Bill, but I guess you could do it if you want to.
Well, good sir. I'm here on behalf, to keep a promise. I'm looking for a guest that might be staying here. I believe his name is Gaston.
Yeah, we got a guy named Gaston. I'm sure you're going to be surprised to hear this. We only got one.
I'm sure. He's a French individual, correct?
That he is.
Okay. Well, I don't suppose you'd be able to point me in the direction of his room, would you?
Well, he's actually down here at the bar. And he kind of gestures at the far end of the restaurant, where you see there's a gentleman at a table in the back.
Oh, well.
You want me to cook up some steaks, bring those over for you?
Oh.
Bill, do it for me. I've been a vegetarian for 9 months.
Well, I suddenly feel this compulsion that yes, we should probably have some steaks. But give us about 30 minutes. I need to feel the situation out a little bit.
Of course. For a friend of Julian's, these could be on the house.
Oh. Your generosity never ceases to amaze me, Big Bill. I thank you.
Well, shucks. All right, you can go talk to your man. He's over back that way.
Thank you. You're a gentleman and a scholar, Big Bill.
Yeah, I'm maybe one of those things at best.
Then I'll make my way over towards the indicated gentleman.
He is at a table in the back. He is reading through a fairly dense-looking book, and looks up as you make your way over.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Lucius Jensen. I was told by a friend of mine at the library, not Matthias.
Matthias.
Matthias, thank you. Sorry.
Do you need a Post-it note? Because some of us have Post-it notes.
I probably should. Although it's not going to help because it's always going to be like one slight syllable off. Yurt, yorts. No, it's not. I'm just. It's leaving one. It's leaving 1 HP. It's just going to be my shtick.
You leave people's names at 1 HP, which is a truly singular talent.
Oh boy.
Oh, if I had inspiration to give to you, Brian.
Listener, you can't see it, but I just killed Phoenix and Aaron a little.
Matthias. Sorry. Okay. Yes, a friend of mine goes by the name of Matthias. Suggested I come find you. You are Gaston, are you not?
That I am. My name is Gaston Labon. You said you're a doctor?
Yeah, yes. I am a pretty well-established physician, many years, and also served in the United States military, of course, as a field doctor.
I see. Come, sit down. Please, have a seat.
Why not? He'll sit down in I'm assuming an armchair that's relatively.
Oh yeah, they got cozy chairs here. Yep.
So, Gaston, what brings you to Seattle?
Presently I am doing some traveling around your United States. I have been curious about some of the different institutions here. I am an alienist. My profession is to speak to people and help provide stability for those who are suffering from mental ailments.
And how do you go about assessing these mental ailments?
There are many ways. There are several things that are being done in the field of alienism right now, but and he kind of looks to the left, kind of out at the crowd of folks around. Between the two of us, Doctor, I think most of it is quackery.
How well do I hold my face? I don't have a high empathy score.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. You don't have a high empathy score?
No.
A legendarily low empathy score, in fact.
I heal people. I don't talk to them.
He's not one of those holistic doctors you've heard about.
But Dr. Jensen will probably let an eyebrow slip just of, really? It's an interesting assessment, especially for someone in your field.
Have you ever heard of the practice of phrenology?
I do not believe so.
It's something new coming out of England right now. As if the English have any good inventions of the mind. They are using calipers to measure the bumps upon the head and try and transcribe that to traits of personality. As if the lumps upon the top of your head could be used to determine who and how you feel about things.
That seems almost absurd.
Is it not? And yet people are believing it. I was curious to see if perhaps here in the American frontiers, if there were more novel practices being practiced.
No, we tend to focus more on the physical ailments and making sure that we can survive. Not anything beyond that. This is just he just waves his hand.
Doctor, might I pour you a brandy?
That's how you get him.
Yes, you may.
He holds up 2 fingers to the waiter, who brings over another glass, pours 2 brandies, and then raises his up in a small cheers.
Lucius will kind of swirl, take a sniff, and then just
clink.
Lucius is genuinely kind of flummoxed. Actually, he was not ready to be. This is Julian in a doctor form.
And so the two of you kind of chat for a little bit, and Gaston reveals to you that he actually was a soldier. He fought in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870.
Yo, you're kidding me.
I am not.
How was it?
It was terrible. France suffered such awful losses. The Prussian forces mobilized in ways that we could not compete with, and the French imperial state could not react in time. They thought a strong offense would win the war, but no. No, I was not there when Paris fell, but I was, well, in shock. I could barely speak. But I was treated in a field hospital in Austria. And there, I found the most curious thing. There was a doctor whose treatment did not involve cutting, it did not involve saws or leeches. We simply talked. At first, they talked mostly at me. But slowly, I found I was able to begin to find my words again. My accent is going all over the place, because I went to Austria, you see. Sacre bleu.
I'll admit I find that actually a little fascinating. So no, none of this, your dreams mean your desires, or you're predestined, or any of this other quackery. You just spoke, of your occurrences, your worries? What did you...
We spoke of what life was like on the battlefield. I told them about the challenges, the dangers, about the sound of a gun going off and not knowing whether it was your ally shooting an enemy or an enemy shooting at you. I found I was able to find my voice again. And when I did, I wanted to be able to help others who had been marked as the insane. Do you know, until very recently in England, they kept the mad chained?
Well, I mean, there are cases where some of them are prone to psychotic outbursts. Well, how else are you supposed to keep others safe?
But even those suffering from just terrible melancholy, they would keep them chained in darkness, with no one trying to speak to them. Mon Dieu.
Lucius will start to be almost with the kind of posture of like, well, they must, and then he'll kind of stop, and he'll remember some of the images of
Wilderness Heights.
I was going to say now I can't remember that doctor's name.
Linda Hazard.
Hazard, yes. God, I'm terrible. But he'll remember Dr. Hazard and seeing the sheer physical torture that some of the people were being put through in the name of improving their health. I think you're right. This is terrible.
Perhaps we could speak more of this. I will be in Seattle for a little while before I continue my tour onwards. You seem a very open-minded sort. And just as Dr. Jensen kind of snorts at that, Big Bill arrives with 2 steaks.
Oh, Big Bill, your timing is impeccable.
Baby.
Don't I know it.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was on mute. Thank God Hannah can cut this out.
We also heard the Zerberts being blown into the cat's tongue.
Sorry, guys.
It was priceless.
Really thought I was on mute. My bad.
Hannah, don't cut this.
Oh, God.
Just Big Bill coming up and Aaron something going, baby. Perfect.
Shit.
I mean, that's about as smooth as I expect Sofie to be, but comes over with 2 steaks. God. Oh, this looks great.
Baby. Baby.
Love you, Hannah.
Cut none of this. Keep it all. Fucking priceless.
100%. We could have a full hour of this, and that would be the episode, and that's okay.
I mean, I don't know if I want to go that far.
Don't worry. I got this.
God.
No, I don't doubt it. All right. We slowly pull back as Dr. Jensen and Gaston kind of trade anecdotes and war stories. And perhaps Dr. Jensen has surprised himself by making a friend. And our kind of camera pans further back out and then heads off to follow Sofie. Sofie, you had a day planned of meeting several young ladies who were in need of some assistance.
Okay.
And we slowly fade away from Dr. Jensen and head deeper into lava beds, following after Sofie, Inga's daughter. Sofie had some important work to do today, and she had heard about a couple of girls who were in need of some assistance.
Interestingly, I think Sofie is also maybe headed to at least close by the Our House Hotel, as it's an easily recognizable landmark, and it's the environs are pretty safe comparatively. So yeah, she's going to go talk to a couple of girls who she heard from her other girls that work for her and that she knows are looking to get out of the business and to do something else with their lives.
Is she meeting them at our house or just in the neighborhood?
I think just nearby, because they might want to keep it a little more low key, and Our House is pretty popular in the area, so
Sofie's found a discreet spot to meet up.
I think she's probably tried to find maybe like a hole in the wall restaurant or something where she can buy them food. Yeah.
Yep, there are definitely some
Buy
of
them
those. There's a little showbox theater that's a little slightly more respectable than most of the other ones in the area. And Sofie treats the girls who work there a little bit better and tends to do more vaudeville acts than more of the quite as risque things as some of the other places.
Mm-hmm.
So the two girls are waiting for you and kind of look to each other and then look over to you. Sofie takes a seat, settling her very heavy book-filled skirts.
I get a feeling they probably look at each other when you hear like the things like heavy clunking against the floor and against the legs of the chair. Sofie's completely oblivious to that.
And the shotgun that she carries in her shotgun pocket.
Shh, they don't know about that.
They might if it's loud enough as it clatters around.
No, it's protected. It's not. No. Sofie has safety first, okay?
Doris looks at you. So you're Sofie?
Yes.
We heard from some girls who work at some other places that if you needed some help getting out of things.
Yes.
And Letty kind of looks at her and says, or if you're in a really bad spot.
Yes.
You could maybe help?
I completely understand. And before you even tell me what bad spot you're in, I've probably been there, so I can sympathize. And there's no judgment in my house. So anything that you need, you can always ask me, okay? First off.
Doris kind of looks at you. And what kind of work do we have to do for you?
You don't have to do any work for me unless it appeals to you. Right now, I have girls who work with feeding my farm animals and things like that. I have girls doing work refurbishing my house as I'm making a school area partition of my house. And I have others who are learning how to write well to help me scribing things. There's lots of jobs, and if you don't like any of those, we can find you a different one.
They kind of smile and look at each other. Doris says, well, I always wanted to learn to read.
Absolutely, that's one of the first things you can do if you come to my house.
And Letty kind of smiles and looks like she might actually this might all be on the level. And says, I'm a good seamstress.
Perfect. Oh, that's wonderful. I really need some help with more pockets. And I just like show her a little bit of what's going on. And my Sofie seamstress skills are serviceable. They're not pretty. And, she's got some like really ugly stuff. Like it's working. It's keeping the books in there, but it's, it looks real bad.
It doesn't look nice.
Yeah, it doesn't look nice. So yeah, she'll talk with her about that for a second. And
the two of them are very, very excited, and they can't wait to come with you. They want to go to Ballard right now.
All right. That's fantastic. We will head back this very moment.
So the three of you are walking out of the lava beds, and Doris kind of shuffles her feet a little bit and then says, Miss Sofie?
Yes.
I don't want to bring no trouble to your door, but what if some of the folks we worked for come after us?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that, sweetheart. And I'll lift the other side of the skirt so she can see, like, the bottom of the shotgun. And we have actually, my house is protected, you might say. It's very, very safe. So if anyone should approach with nefarious ends in mind, we'll give them a hearty send-off. Don't you worry.
And they just look so taken by you at this point. You're like a character from a book.
Oh, I should write that down. If only Julian hadn't done something with my notebook.
Julian definitely told you that he didn't touch your notebook.
He did tell me that.
You have no reason to believe him because he's never been anything but honest with you.
I have you just Freudian slipped, Phoenix, or you did it on purpose. I have no reason to believe him. You are correct. I have no reason to believe.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
That's a new alienist technique called the Gaston Le Bon slip. Dr. Jensen's learning all about it over
I'm pretty sure Dr. Carlos Young had invented that and trademarked it quite a while ago.
You went full LeBong there, Phoenix.
Unfortunately, that trademark was kept by the Seattle Intelligencer. All right, so we are going to fast forward a couple of days.
Can I say, as we were leaving, that I happened to glance into the window of the Our House Hotel and could have sworn that I saw Dr. Jensen.
But that wouldn't be possible.
And then they just, the girls distracted me, and I was like, oh, it must have been someone that just looked like him. There's no reason for him to be here. Doesn't even make sense.
Highly unlikely.
Yes.
We are going to fast forward a couple of days. The three of you are gathered together to see the new completed work of one of your recent hires at the library. You have recruited the services of a professional gardener. After some extensive searching, you believe you have found the perfect person for the job and set him to a task of creating a beautiful garden in commemoration of Queen Moss. He is an older gentleman who has wispy hair that kind of goes all over the place, and he loves and adores plants. The three of you head out to see the work that he's done, and he claps his hands together. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, so glad. Oh, look at this. Look at these plants. Look at these beautiful ferns that we've got going. And you are greeted by your new gardener, Morrison Cisco.
Delightful.
Oh, look at this. So I took some of the notes that you've given me, some of the design elements. We've incorporated a little fountain in the middle. We've got some moss elements. Very, very good for the local area. Oh la la. Now, I cannot wait to show you what I've been doing with some of the topiaries.
He sounds like Robert De Niro in Casino.
Not quite where I was going.
It's like fading in, and just I'm catching like these whiffs of it is all.
We will let our listeners try and figure out who I have attempted to pattern Morrison Cisco on.
I mean, it started out Australian to me.
I was going for like a strong Midwest.
Oh, wow. Brian?
Listen.
Hi, everyone. I'm criticizing an accent because I can do them better.
Yeah,
No.
me too. I know,
No.
right?
No.
All right. You have now met your brand new gardener, Morrison Cisco. However, we have one other important development. But y'all need to first ask permission. I have in my notes that you would like to add a dungeon to your cellar. But that kind of change is going to require checking in the infirmary.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the dungeon is a discovery, as opposed to a facility.
Correct.
So I don't know. The distinction between discovering something implies to me that we stumbled upon it versus we built
or
it,
unearthed it.
Okay.
So one of the things that you will discover is there are a lot of pre-existing facilities here at the library, but things that have gotten buried, sometimes behind literal walls. So you do actually have to like tear stuff down, and then in the process might find,
Okay. It's just, yes, we would be tearing down walls. Why are we doing that? Right? It's like I understand asking, and I agree that we want to ask permission of the Vatir.
I wonder.
I'm just having a hard time in my head kind of squaring that, where it's like, yeah,
This may not answer your question, Phoenix, but I wonder, I mean, because overall it only applies directly to our situation, not all situations. But in our situation, I mean, the Vatir could definitely be said to be helping us locate and quote unquote discover locations that are already there that we could use versus building an entire new location if there's already rooms there. Now, that doesn't really answer the question for all of Boston, certainly.
Yeah, for my kind of line of thinking for our game, you're basically like telling the Vatir, hey, we're thinking of building a dungeon. And they're like, oh, wow, you already have one.
Okay, that helps.
So with the way that the dungeon works, there's basically a side vault in the cellar that had collapsed in on itself. But when you unearthed all the broken stone from it, you discovered there were barred cells inside. And so they can help you kind of locate where things like that will be in the library.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Do we want to play out a scene kind of talking to them about it?
Good if we just recap it.
Run through exactly what just happened. Yep.
Yeah, because we could ask for permission to them if we introduce the memorial to it, right? Which
King Toon and the court are very swept up by, especially the little fountain that you put in the middle of it.
Although it does strike me that we had imprisoned the Vatir for all of these years, and now we're talking about building a dungeon.
That's true, but the bars are very wide for them.
Yeah, okay. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's
fair.
fine. It's fine. We're good people. I'm a good person.
If you say it loud enough, it's always true. Don't forget, they also chose to be isolated from the wider society.
Okay.
So you go to the infirmary and politely request an audience with the Vatir and inform them after your most recent encounter with villains like Linda and Sam Hazard, as well as trying to deal with the supernatural mayor. You're thinking maybe you need somewhere that you could put a person to keep them safe from you, or you from them if needed. You talk to them a little bit about building a dungeon, to which they reply, oh, you've already got one of those. And with their assistance, you're able to locate an area in the cellar that had partially collapsed, but has a series of heavily barred doors.
I high-five King Toon as best as I can with maybe one finger.
He feels this lacks decorum.
Oh, apologies. I give a very, very deep bow, even though I'm still standing, 10 times his height.
That is far more appropriate. You shall make a good vassal yet.
Could I? No, I can't do that. I was going to say, could I have Yorts deliver them one of the rats that chases them? But I don't think Yorts would ever have anything to do with a rat. He would be scared.
And also the Vatir would be very scared of Yorts.
Of course, I didn't mean take it to, into where they live, but just leave it, somewhere for them. But no, Yorts.
That is probably outside of his skill set.
Yeah, Yorts is not.
All right. You have expanded your facilities. You've enjoyed the beautiful weather. You've rescued some girls. You've made some friends. You've said some goodbyes. It's been a long, but a good day. Throughout the last few weeks, it's been nice spending some time away from all of the spirits and monsters. Of course, safe days like this can't last forever for members of the library, or anyone with the second sight. In the small hours of the morning, in front of Sofie's home, a young man in a nice suit paces nervously back and forth. He holds a letter in his hands, the edges of the envelope slightly crinkled from the force he's been gripping them with. Young Jeremy Hobbs takes a moment and squares his shoulders. He finally has resolved himself. He needs to do this. He pulls the fountain pen from his pocket, hesitates only a moment more, and then signs the front of the envelope. To Sofie Ingesdottir, care of the Library of Metaphysical Knowledge in Defense of Mankind. From Jeremy Hobbs. He considers for a moment, before adding in a small print below, please don't speak to Matthias about this. I need your help. Jeremy caps the fountain pen, blows lightly on the letter's ink to help it dry, and then slides it through the mail slot in Sofie's door before hurrying away. He hopes beyond hope that she and her friends are willing to help him, because he knows he has nowhere else to turn. But we'll find out what's in Jeremy's letter next time.
You're an evil man. Evil.
I do what I can.
Oh my
Who's
god.
Matthias?
God damn it, Bill. Motherfucker.
God damn it!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.